Others in opposition?
Chair, members of the Senate, Ed Worley with the National Rifle Association. The reason you have people openly carrying firearms is this is their last legal remedy to be able to do so. I've had a very long discussion with Assemblyman Portantino. We've talked about the issues. We philosophically disagree on what's going on here. But what you have is for instance, in Los Angeles, where you have 4 million people in Los Angeles, there's less than 30 permits issued in the city of Los Angeles. Now, no one can have any stretch of the imagination saying that only 30 people in Los Angeles, where I grew up, have a reason to be able to get a concealed carry permit. What you're having is, and what this is a response to is that in many jurisdictions, people cannot get concealed carry permits, even when they try to get applications. In fact, LAPD right now is in violation of a court order on its very concealed carry application process, where the court told them to at least give citizens a permit to apply for a permit, and they refuse to do so. LAPD won't even give you an application when you go in. They won't give you the procedures. They won't give you the deadlines or anything else. So what you're seeing is the reason people are openly carrying firearms the way they are is this is our last legal remedy for them to be able to carry firearms to protect themselves. In fact, in the Peruta case in San Diego, the Peruta case talked about the issuance of concealed carry permits in that jurisdiction. The judge found against us because the judge said in the court case that the reason we're not going to find that you shall issue concealed carry permits is because there's a legal remedy for people to be able to openly carry firearms for self-protection. So the unintended consequence of this bill is that if you ban the only other lawful ability for people to carry firearms openly on their person for self-protection, the court has said you have two options. You can openly carry unloaded, or you can get a concealed carry permit. If you look at the Peruta cases we provided to the committee here, committee staff is, if you ban open carry, the next logical consequence is that the court is going to find that you must issue concealed carry permits.
Thank you. Others?
I had a question for this witness. I don't know if you want to take it now or later, Ms.
Why don't we wait and we'll take
fine.
all the questions
at
the end.
Morley, please.
Stay. Yeah.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Tom Pedersen with the California Rifle and Pistol Association. We're opposed to the bill, but just like to point out that the frustration that has been experienced by the open carry movement and has resulted in response by law enforcement may actually result, as was mentioned earlier, in an unintended consequence. You may have seen the May 24th editorial in the LA Times, which pointed out that perhaps moving towards banning open carry and resulting in more issuance of CCW permits because of litigation that will probably result, which will result in shall issue, there'll actually be more firearms out in public. Now, we believe that both open carry and if someone decides that they wish to have a license to carry, which they have to go through a process, is the right of a citizen. But the reality of the situation is that a citizen cannot get a license in many jurisdictions, hence the proliferation of the open carry movement. So those, I think, are public policy issues that just need some consideration, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there others in opposition? Generally, we hear 2 speakers in favor and 2 against, so we're not going to sit here for another 15 minutes while people read things. If other speakers in support or opposition would state who they are and what their position is, I would appreciate it.
My name is Katie, and my mom open carries. I feel safe shopping with my mom and going to the park when she carries. I heard on the news that thousands of prisoners are coming out of jail and hundreds of police officers are getting laid off. If this bill passes, there will be nobody to protect me. Please vote no on AB 144 and help keep me safe.
Thank you. Others, please just say who you are and your position.
Good morning, Senators. My name is Moses, and I live in San Jose. So far this year, there have been 25 homicides. We are only halfway through this year, and that's more than all of last year. In San Jose, 300 police officers will be laid off. The helicopters are being grounded, and they have taken away our mounted patrol at a time when 46,000 prisoners are being released. If this law passes, how will my parents protect me? I may be a kid, but I know that taking away the right of self-protection at a time when violent crime is on the rise is a threat to public safety. Right now, he can save lives. The power to make a difference is in you. I ask you, vote no on AB 144.
Madam Chair and members, Sam Paredes representing Gun Owners of California, and for all of the stated reasons, we are in strong opposition to AB 144 and am open to have a discussion on the constitutional questions that have been brought up by the supporters of this bill. But I need to bring out one incredible irony that has been immortalized within this building. As a matter of fact, in this very room, depicted here on this picture, holding the California flag is a Californian who is open carrying. We'll be here till this building goes away. How can the irony is just rich with amazement, and it has been the law in the state of California since the state became a law. It was a freedom. Yes, the Mulford Act said you couldn't carry loaded, you could carry unloaded. As was done, he was probably carrying loaded. Thank God. And there are some folks who believe that more guns in society by law-abiding citizens is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And if we take a look at the universe of people who carry concealed firearms legally, obeying the law, they are some of the most law-abiding citizens in the state of California. And it's a tragedy that this legislature is going to infringe upon that right. And again, open to the constitutional arguments on this issue.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Maybe I'll address my question to the last witness rather than Mr. Worley, but he, as I understand it, did offer to give some testimony, and it's the area that I'm the most interested in, the constitutionality. Now, the supporters have testified that this ban as proposed in this bill is constitutional. And I would ask for your input and your opinion. Is this in fact a constitutional legislation or not? They're saying it is. I've heard others say it's not. I'd be interested in hearing your position.
In reading the analysis of the committee, it was very well done, and it included some of the discussion that was put forth by the United States Supreme Court in the Heller decision, not so much in the McDonald, but in particular in the Heller decision, where Justice Scalia was specifically talking about the problem with it is plainly unconstitutional to ban guns. And although we were talking about, in this case, the possession of guns in the home, in particular with regards to the Heller case, he expanded on that conversation and said, we are going to have to take a look at the right to keep and bear arms, and he said that does not only include in the home. So in banning, the Heller decision said it's unconstitutional to ban guns. As the chief pointed out here, representing 78 or 79% of the population in the state of California, if you were to accumulate all of the concealed weapons that are issued by all of the people represented by his organization, you would come up with an infinitesimally small number of people. It is a virtual ban on the functional policy that they have with regards to issuing concealed weapons permits. It is a functional ban. And now you are going to have a statutory ban to ban the open carrying, which talks directly to what Justice Scalia was talking about, in having a complete ban on not only keeping but bearing arms. So we think that, yes, it will go to the court, guaranteed. Yes, the state of California, if this passes, will be sued, and it will cost millions of dollars to defend this thing. But ultimately, we think that we will prevail based on the precedent that has most recently been set by the United States Supreme Court. And Mr. Worley, if I had missed a point, it's pretty
would
clear.
like to hear it, limited to the issue of constitutionality.
Yes. If you look at the Pruitt case talks about the ability of citizens to be able to bear arms to protect themselves. In the Pruitt case in San Diego, the judge was talking about, okay, under what provisions in California statute can you do that? The judge said, well, look, you have two legal options in statute. You can get a permit to carry a concealed carry permit, to carry a handgun concealed. But the problem is, realistically, you can't get one in LA. So the judge said, well, I'm not going to fine for you because people don't have to get a concealed carry permit. Because statute allows people to openly carry firearms to protect themselves, in essence, bear firearms to protect themselves. I'm not going to fine in favor of the National Rifle Association because people have the right to bear arms in public unloaded. What this bill will do is you will statutorily take away that legal option for citizens to do that. So for people to say that this is unconstitutional, the problem they have is that the court, the United States Supreme Court, hasn't walked down this road yet. But guess what? They're going to. Mm-hmm. Because with Peruta and these cases we're bringing forward, California is the anomaly in the United States for concealed carry permits and right to carry. We are the anomaly. We are going to be forced by the United States Supreme Court and the judicial system in the United States to understand and recognize people have the inherent right to carry a firearm and protect themselves. And that's where this is going. So we can have a bill like this that's riddled with loopholes that gives you 28 or 29 or 30 loopholes saying, well, you can carry here, you can carry there, but you can't carry here. But if you walk across a public road, you're in trouble. If you walk down a public road, you're in trouble. And the courts are going to find this law to be very problematic. Because one of the things, going back to the constitutional ability to bear, the bill says if I am hunting, I can openly carry the firearm unloaded. But if I walk down the public road down in the national forest land, that's a public place. And under public place statute, I cannot possess a firearm openly. So what's the court going to say? Okay, I'm hunting, I'm walking down the road, I'm hunting. But I'm walking down the road to get back to my vehicle. Now, do I have to lock the gun up? Part of this is when you look at Heller and McDonald, they talk about arbitrary and capricious licensing. Talk about arbitrary and capricious. When you have this many loopholes in a bill, you talk about arbitrary and capricious understanding. Who's going to be able to understand this? What law enforcement officer is going to sit down and read all the 28 or 29 loopholes in this bill and go, okay, well, if you're standing on the street, you're okay, but if you're 100 yards in and you're hunting, you're not okay, but you're okay here, but you're not okay there. The reason this bill exists is because there is a blatant discrimination and discriminatory practice in this state of issuing concealed carry permits. That's the reason all of us are sitting here. It's because citizens are frustrated in the ability to be able to protect themselves and carry firearms to protect themselves, and in jurisdictions where police chiefs blatantly will not issue permits, even when they're told by the court, like LAPD was told by the court, you shall treat citizens with honor and distinction and at least process their applications. LAPD is now in violation of the court order. So what we're going to do is this is going to be found to be unconstitutional because it is so riddled with loopholes. Well,
Madam Chair.
Factual information, and I'm going to give an opportunity for you to fully address and have any of your other speakers in support that may have something to add. I'm letting this go on because it's an important issue, but I'm telling you it's going to end in 5 minutes. So so we're not going to have colloquy that goes, this is not a place to argue a case. Sorry, everybody.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Yes, you may.
Great, thank you. A couple of the arguments, I think, against this bill, I think, actually help make the case for why this is necessary. As been stated, there is a proliferation of weapons on Main Street, California. That's something that I think average citizens don't want. Number two, it's also been pointed out by the advocates for open carry that law enforcement can only determine whether that weapon is loaded or unloaded. Again, if a person were to buy a weapon in an Arizona swap meet and bring it to Main Street, California, that person would not have any training or any other safeguards. And again, the opponents of this bill made that case for us as policymakers. The comment about the photo, I think that is the appropriate place for a sidearm, in a photo and on a Western movie, not on Main Street, California. Many of the arguments on the constitutional and the law enforcement aspects of this, if you heard the speakers, they've talked and used words like may, perhaps. You know, I could say I may go on a diet tomorrow and people might laugh at that because there are certain, that's why we use the words may and perhaps. This does not take anyone's Second Amendment rights away, as been articulated by the proponents of this. People still have the right to bear arms and protect their home. They have the right to hunt. They have a right to be a security guard. They have a right to use weapons in the normal, appropriate, standard practices. They don't have the right to infringe on someone else's rights. It's also been argued that this somehow will overturn the gun-free school zone. That is not correct. That is not factual. There is a 1,000, if I understand it, 1,000-foot prohibition of weapons in a school zone, and this does not undermine that, and that is a very important point to make. It's been argued that somehow this is related to CCWs, and clearly there is a frustration of people who want to apply for CCWs. I respect, that's concealed weapons permit. I respect local law enforcement's right as a local control measure to issue those permits where local law enforcement sees them warranted and necessary. This bill will not increase CCWs or change the CCW practice and standards. So again, that's a local law enforcement issue to determine who warrants and who doesn't warrant CCW. Something that's been argued, not necessarily today, but argued out there in that this is somehow an expression of politics and free speech. You know, I look at politics, and we're having this discussion today. It's about ideas, it's about words, it's about our passions, it's about our franchise, it's about using all of those wonderful things that our founding fathers endowed in us, and certainly we don't want weapons to be part of a political statement, and there's far too much of it. It's also been argued that had open carry activists been in Arizona when that shooting had occurred, they could have taken out the shooter. That was not argued today, but it's been argued in the past. Again, the last thing we want is a hail of bullets in a crowded shopping center. We want families to be safe. We want our streets to be safe. And, you know, if someone thinks that they're not, that's, again, an issue for local law enforcement to address. It's not an issue to strap on a weapon and be parading it on Main Street, California. This bill has tried to be prudent in its approach in transporting weapons, again, trying not to infringe on normal standard practices of weapons, and we've drafted it accordingly. And it's ironic that those drafting intentions would then be highlighted as problems with the bill. With that, I think I addressed most of the concerns. Mr. Armiano, I don't know if you want to answer any of them as well.
Yes, certainly. I'd like to acknowledge that same-sex couple as well. I think that they, especially in the month of June. What I'm a little worried about is how this flirts with vigilantism, people taking control when there's not training. Also, the simplistic issue, we want our families to be safe, there are many ways to provide that kind of safety without carrying a gun openly or alluding to the fact that you may have a gun. And we've talked a lot on both floors this year about bullyism and the dynamic of that and how that is meant to intimidate and to also overcompensate. So I agree with Mr. Portantino wholeheartedly and would recommend an aye vote.
Thank you. Well, we've had extensive discussion. I think we've heard from both sides. I believe this is a prudent bill. We've heard too many cases of our police officers making mistakes because they can't tell if a person comes out with a weapon pointed at them. We know that the number of people killed in this country by guns is huge and really unlike most other industrialized countries. And I agree with Assemblyman Armiano, the impacts of bullying on the anxieties and tensions of living in this very difficult world right now have been profound. So I respect the very nuanced approach this bill has taken, and would hope that it would pass and would entertain a motion which would be do pass as amended to appropriations. Oh, we didn't, no additional amendments were taken. Okay, just do pass to appropriations. Bill has been moved by Senator Liu. Madam Secretary, would you open the roll?
Yes. Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson?
No.
Anderson, no. Calderon? Harmon?
No.
Harmon, no. Liu? Aye. Liu, aye. Price? Aye. Price, aye. Steinberg?
That bill is on call for the absent members. Assemblyman Armiano, you also.